Tez Ilyas, welcome to Ultimate 11. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me, Ben. Very excited about this. Very fun challenge.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Feeling good about your team, or are you worried, or a bit
I mean,
sentimental?
I think if we pick the right era of the Premiership, I think this team would challenge for the title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does your team span quite a few eras then, or is
So,
it more
it
consolidated?
spans the time I've been watching it, which is 92 till 2023, where we are now. I'm not going to lie, there's not a lot of players from the last decade who've made it. Although, a couple of notable omissions, Bradley Dack could sneak him in. But it's mainly players probably from 92 till about 2012, I think, is the year that I've settled on. But I think there are a couple of 95. I think this team would give 95 a run for the money. The year we won it, the year Rovers won it. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, actually, it's an interesting thing, actually, like when you've got a team that has kind of one real sort of pinnacle of success, like Rovers winning the league, or like Leicester, or some of the other teams that have sort of gone off the boil a bit, like Forest when they were incredible in the 70s. If you put together their like all-time greatest 11, is the sum of the parts like better than the best team they've ever had? Because if you think about it with United, like, or someone who's had incredible success over the years, the best Man United team of all time is probably similar-ish to 5 or 6 or 7 of the teams that Ferguson put together over his era to win the league. Whereas, is the best Blackburn team better than the team that won the league? Possibly.
I think this team is better than the team that won the league. My all-time Prem 11 is probably better than the team that won the league. But then, like, if you ask any Liverpool fan, name your all-time Prem 11, Gerrard's going to be in it.
Yeah.
And Gerrard never won the league. So.
Yeah. Carragher, all those players, just interesting. All right, well,
Stig Inga Bjornaby.
Yeah, never won the league.
Famously never won the league with Blackburn or Liverpool. Yeah.
No, yeah. Daniel Agger. Anyway, we're not talking about questionable Liverpool signings. We're talking about Blackburn Rovers Ultimate 11. So, before we get into the players that you've picked, what formation are you playing?
I think we're going to go with a strict 4-4-2.
A strict 4-4-2 as well.
I think if it was like an all-time World 11, blah, 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 I think I would more stick with a 4-3-3. But given the players available to me, I think I'm going to go for a 4-4-2.
Okay. And have you tried to sort of shoehorn some players into maybe positions that they wouldn't normally play?
Not right, Ben. This is a big bugbear of mine. No, I haven't done that. I picked the best player or my favorite player in each position. I have a massive bugbear when people do, whichever way you cut your favorite 11 of all time, whether it's your favorite international 11, your all-time greatest 11, your favorite of the last 10 years or whatever. And like, they just shoehorn like 8 attackers. And they'll have like Maradona playing right wing back because they have to get him in. No, you pick the best player for the position that every manager in the world would play. Like the amount of teams you see like all-time greatest 11 and there's no defensive midfielder in there. And you're like, there's a reason why every manager ever, or at least successful manager, has a holding player, because you cannot win anything without a holding midfielder, a good one. And so like you'll have like, I don't know, like Zidane at like the number 6 position. You're like, that's not where he played. So why would you play in there? Whereas get Kante or what's his name, Makelele or Vieira or Roy Keane or someone.
Yeah. No, it's fair enough. It's entirely, the Ultimate 11 is open to anything and any managerial style. So it's nice to know that you've kind of imposed these strict footballing criteria. Yeah,
balance. A team that would actually compete on the pitch.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm looking forward to hearing it. All right then. Well, we'll start at the back. In goal, number 1. Who have you got?
Brad Friedel.
Okay.
America's greatest export. America's all-time greatest bald person. Number 2 is obviously Bruce Willis. Number 3 is Vin Diesel. But Brad Friedel is number 1. He was phenomenal for us. Obviously, a lot of people will be like, what about Tim Flowers? What about Tim Flowers? It was great. Wonderful. Couldn't get past David Seaman to be England number 1. I remember. I got for Brad Friedel. He was a real cult hero. played like something like 250 games in a row, saved a lot of penalties, famously scored a goal once, and then Charlton went up the other end and conceded immediately. So we lost that game 3-2. What a day. You know, when your goalkeeper scores in the 92nd minute and you're like, oh, amazing. And then the other team immediately go up the other end and score. It was so funny. But yeah, no, Bradfield is a real cult hero of a lot of Blackburn fans. And yeah, I can't. But even he's a great shot stopper, great command of the box. You know, we finished like 5th, 6th when Bradfield was in goal. Given our resources at the time was amazing. So yeah, I think Bradfield is a solid number 1 choice for an all-time Blackburn 11.
Yeah, great keeper. I was just trying to think, like, would you say he was at Blackburn in his prime? Because he played for a lot of Premier League clubs, and he did well at a lot of Premier League clubs.
Yeah, if you take a goalkeeper's prime as sort of like 30 to 35-ish, then yeah, definitely we had him in his prime. I mean, he played like 250 consecutive games for us, saved a whole load of penalties. You know, he's very commanding in the air, in the box, great shot stopper. It's not really a lot I could fault him with. Like, you know, after you cut sort of Peter Schmeichels and Petr Cechs and these types, I'll probably say he's a solid 2nd tier all-time Premiership goalkeeper.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it's a bit of a shame, really, that he played for the US when they didn't really have any kind of international presence. Like, I feel like it's when they started getting good was when Tim Howard kind of overtook him as the US keeper. But yeah, he didn't really get it on the international stage. Whereas now, obviously, like US are pretty decent.
Looking decent.
Yeah. A favorite, apart from scoring a goal and then conceding immediately, favorite Brad Friedel moment or save that he's ever made?
I can't remember what game it was, but he's once saved 2 penalties in the same game. Wow. And I can't for the life of me remember who it was against. Should have done my research. I didn't know I was going to be asked the exact question, but I think he once saved 2 penalties in the game. And it just felt like a bit like Martinez for Argentina. It just felt like he would save every penalty. Like, you always felt like he was favourite. And obviously that's not obviously because he did a load of penalties, but it always felt like with Brad Friedel in goal, you were like, I think he'll save this.
Yeah. I can't really remember him in any shootouts, but
it's because Blackburn didn't really reach a lot of shootouts.
No,
but in game, he saved his fair chance of penalties, fair few penalties.
I feel like he would have taken and scored a penalty as well if he'd have been in a shootout.
Definitely. I think he once saved ones against Ruder and Nistelrooy, which is no mean feat.
No, one of the most prolific. Okay, Brad Friedel, America's greatest bald person. I mean, don't tell Michael Jordan, but Brad Friedel is in there.
Who?
It's a stupid game anyway.
Or what's Will Smith's wife called?
Oh yeah, Jada.
Yeah. She's up there top 5, surely.
She's
top 5.
She is top 5 ball person. Terrible at saving penalties, though.
Probably.
Okay, so we're going to your back 4.
Yes.
We'll start on the right hand side. Your right back.
Okay, so here I had some choices to make. Could have gone Henningberg, title-winning right back.
Yeah.
Could have gone with Jeff Kenner, solid for a long time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I've settled on Lucas Neal.
Nice.
Dependable, played a hell of a lot of games, solid without being too fanciful, decent defender, not too shabby going forward either.
Yeah.
Part of a decent Australian team as well with Tim Cahill. I was going to say Pat Cahill, with Tim Cahill, and a few others, Harry Kewell, etc. So I think, Lucas Neal, I'm going for my right back, because I think probably Henningberg had his greatest years as a centre back.
Yeah.
I think he was a sort of a centre back shoehorn into a right back position, whereas Lucas Neal was more of a natural right back.
Yeah. And where did he come from? Because he played somewhere before Blackburn, didn't he? For quite a while in
Millwall, I think. Millwall, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Millwall.
Yeah, I think we're standing from Millwall. Yeah. It's one of those guys who stepped up from the then First Division.
Yeah,
quite well. Looked pretty comfortable in Premiership, to be honest.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was an absolute stalwart. I feel he was also good. Like, I seem to remember him being quite good at like fancy football, like a good pick in those days.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Would chip in with the odd goal and
or
assist.
assist. Yeah.
Which was quite It was
And also quite
ahead of his
mouthy
time.
and quite rough as well, which is, you want some tough players on the pitch, and he was definitely very, very non-nonsense Australian kind of guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think he had some questionable haircut at one point? I feel like was that? Am I thinking of the right person? Lucas Neal. I feel like he had a mullet or something at some point.
That I don't remember. I don't remember.
Maybe
that.
not. I mean,
but him and Brett Emerton were good on the right. They were they had the Australian duo Brett Emerton and Lucas Neal on the right hand side for Rovers for a long time. Sort of had that lockdown.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember his questionable haircut though.
I feel like
I mean, Morton Gams Pedersen has some questionable haircuts.
Yeah.
Don't remember Lucas Neal.
I thought just I seemed maybe I just imagine that at some point every Australian person has had a mullet, but I thought
that's a fair assumption.
I could have sworn I remember it. Maybe I'll have to have a look it up. But yeah, good solid right back. Good start. Okay, moving across.
Yes.
Into your centre back pairing.
Yeah, I've gone Christopher Samba.
Yes, legend.
Yeah, and then possibly the greatest centre back for Rovers, at least definitely in my lifetime, Colin Hendry.
Yeah. Despite getting absolutely
rinsed by Paul Gascoigne.
Violated by Paul Gascoigne, and that be his everlasting memory. Despite
a
Premier League winner.
Probably more people have seen him do that than they've seen him do anything else. Yeah. But no, he was great for us. Very, very, very tough, dependable, sort of no nonsense, throw your life on the line kind of defender that you had back in the 90s. Not sure how well he'd fare in the modern day where you expect to play a bit of football as well. I think he'd be okay. But in terms of back then, what you needed against those big sort of number 9s you had back in the day, he was brilliant. And I trust that he would still be able to do a job into it. And he's got Samba there for his pace. That Henry might lack a little bit, but Henry was pretty mobile in his peak. And then with him, I've got Chris Samba. Brilliant, big unit, good in the air, good to throw up front as well if you're losing a game 1-0 from the 80th minute onwards. Very useful player. Could play a little bit as well for his size, and just a big, tough, mean guy who knew how to throw his weight around.
Yeah. I think again, centre backs is a position that Blackburn have kind of done pretty well with. Like, I'm trying to think of
Ryan Nelson could have been another choice here.
Ryan Nelson, obviously, we talked about Henning Berg, but he was, as you said, like he was probably best known as a centre back when he moved to United.
Yeah.
But nice, solid partnership. Quite similar in style, I would say, Samba and Hendry, but maybe complement each other well.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we'll finish off with your left back.
Left back means Mr. Fancy name himself, Graham Lasson.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the best left backs in the country at the time when he was playing. So I think, decent little career at Chelsea after he left us. So I think it's a solid, very, very solid pick. And we've had quite a few decent left backs over the years. Gael Give, Hakan Unsal. Well, he wasn't there for a long time. So there were a couple of choices, people to choose from. But I think Graham Lasson is a standout in that position for us.
Who was that? The Swedish guy that you had, Olsen?
Or Martin Olsen, yeah. Or
Martin Olsen,
Martin Olsen. Marcus was his brother. Martin Olsen was pretty decent, but I think Graham Lasson was better than Martin Olsen.
Oh yeah.
Also 100%. Premiership winning defender as well.
Yeah. 2 Premier League medals in your back 5. It's pretty solid stuff. Yeah. And as a Southampton fan, I have a soft spot for Graham Lasson as well. He came and
of course
helps us out. Well, I say helps us out. He got us relegated. Well, he didn't get us relegated. He was there when we got relegated.
What was he really... like? What was he, 34 at the time or something? He must have been. He must have been going on a bit.
2003. So he must have been. Yeah, probably. It was in the twilight of his career. Definitely.
Yeah.
But he was really, really good that season. And we had some really good players. We just got fucked by Harry Redknapp. Basically, he came from Portsmouth. Took us down,
and then went job done.
Agent Redknapp.
Yeah.
But yeah, despite that, I still have very fond memories of Graham Lasso. Good player. And he's one of those sort of anomaly footballers in that I think he's actually probably quite normal and quite bright. Like he used to get sort of
he used to get
rinsed for
picked
it a
on. He
little
used to
bit.
get picked on for like reading the
Yeah.
Guardian and all this sort of stuff. And I think there was some like homophobic jibes directed at him
Yeah.
because of that as well. Very unsavory stuff, but very, very good solid player. And he had that fight with David Batty in the Champions League.
He did, yes.
It's
Oh,
in
yeah,
Moscow
forgot that was
against
for Blackburn,
Spartak
yeah.
Moscow. Yeah, he's not like, obviously now I know it's happened. It was him. It's difficult to think of anyone else, but really he's not your first choice that you'd think would get into a fight on the pitch with a teammate. God knows what's going on behind the scenes and stuff, or maybe it was a one-off, just happened on the pitch, or it's something that's been boiling over for a few weeks from behind the scenes. Who knows? But yeah, he was very famous for that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, another left back. You know, my full backs, they don't mind swinging it about a bit.
Yeah. Well, I will keep saying this on the Ultimate 11 podcast, but I'm trying to prove the theory that everyone talks about. Oh, goalkeepers are mental. Left backs are a different breed. They're crazy.
Yeah.
And Graham Lasso, despite being from Jersey and being fairly sort of placid and normal, to throw some punches at David Batty, you've got to have a bit of a screw loose somewhere.
Yeah.
Another
big up Graham
mental
Lasso.
left back. Yeah, pick him up. Right. Okay, so we'll keep moving forward, and we're going to your midfield. So is this a flat four, or are you playing a bit of a diamond? Or
yeah, probably a little bit of a diamond. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mini diamond.
Yeah, mini diamond.
Okay, so we'll go with the more defensive of your central midfielders in this diamond.
The greatest footballer I've ever seen for Blackburn, Tugay. I'm not saying obviously there's players that achieved more, were perhaps more impactful, but in terms of the game of football, there's no one better I've seen in a Rovers shirt than Tugay, the Turkish delight. He was phenomenal. He was so good. Sort of, he had that sort of, not to the same level, but he had that sort of Iniesta Xavi quality about him, where you almost like the space moved around him.
Yeah.
Which if you've seen Xavi Iniesta play, you know what I mean. But like, he just obviously wasn't quite as good as them. But he was brilliant. I remember like there are he had a lot of admirers in the Premier League in the years that he was playing. I think what's his name, the West Ham skipper. Who's their recent midfield? I think he's gone on a bit now.
Mark Noble? Yeah,
Mark Noble said he was the toughest player ever played against.
Really?
Mark Noble's played against them all. But he named Tugay his toughest Premiership opponent, and Alex Ferguson was a big admirer. I think Alex Ferguson was once on record for saying if Tugay was 10 years younger, he'd be playing for Barcelona, I think is a quote from Sir Alex Ferguson. Also finished third for Turkey in the World Cup, captain Turkey to third in the World Cup.
Yeah.
But everyone talks about Morocco's achievements this year. That was an equally impressive achievement 20 years ago. So absolutely masterful midfielder. Gave away a lot of fouls, so I'm a bit worried about the team a little bit in that perspective. But he was absolutely brilliant. And there's a particular game that I remember that I went with my dad to, Boxing Day 2006, Rovers versus Liverpool, and it's Tugay versus Xabi Alonso and Gerrard in the middle of the park, and Tugay just absolutely played him off the pitch that afternoon, and we won. I think it was 1-0 or 2-1, and Tugay with the pre-assist, a lovely through ball on the wing, and then someone crossed it in and the striker scored. He was so good,
amazing,
and scored some great goals.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like maybe this is just me, but as a neutral, I kind of have a bit of a different perspective on him in that he didn't score any tap-ins, right? Like he only scored 35-yard volleys and things. Screamers only, and then was just a bit more of a sort of enforcer type midfielder. I don't really remember him. I suppose if you're not a fan,
no, he was.
You don't notice the little tiki-taka
he did give away a lot of fouls just because he was slow, and and I think he was one of those old school 40 fags a day kind of guys that you don't really get anymore. Those proper rock and roll footballers that they don't make anymore. But he was honestly he was different gravy. He was so good.
Really, I'll have to. And this again, I suppose this is the era before you had like YouTube videos where people
Yeah.
would make compilations of him.
No one was
playing
making
six-yard passes.
no one was making 2-guy compilations. He was kind of like a Pirlo, but not quite at that Pirlo level. So like a deep lying playmaker who could win the ball occasionally.
Yeah.
But we never got the 2-guy compilation, unfortunately. And also Mark Hughes' team that he played in were quite tough. And so they did throw that weight around a little bit. So he was doing a bit of that, but he was a very good footballer.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to try and look that up. The only memory I've got of 2-guy in the flesh was I went to see Southampton Blackburn at St Mary's, and he fouled someone in the middle of the pitch and got a yellow card. And then the Southampton player tried to take a quick free kick, and 2-guy just immediately just leapt in front of it and blocked it with his foot. And the referee was stood right there. And he was like, well, obviously that is another yellow card. He hadn't even put it away. He hadn't even put it in his pocket. So he just showed him another yellow card and got sent off.
That's so funny. That's classic 2-guy. What score did that game finish?
I think we won that game. I can't remember 100%, but I'm
probably why I don't remember it then.
Yeah, I think it was. Do you know what? I think you equalised quite late on, and then I think we scored a winner. Possibly, it was either that or it was a comprehensive Southampton victory.
Right.
they were. Yeah, I only ever saw Southampton win comfortably or like completely forgettable games.
Right.
That was.
Did you happen to catch the Southampton 6 Man United 3 game?
No, that was before my time. My peak Southampton era was at St Mary's, like when they just moved in.
Oh yeah, okay.
Post Letitia, pre us getting relegated. Although I went to a lot of games.
I mean, whatever Letitia has done to his reputation, now, he was phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
he was such a beautiful footballer.
Yeah. And scored possibly one of his best ever goals against Blackburn, against Tim Flowers. One of his closest friends. So,
see, for me, and it's not even a bias thing, I genuinely don't think that's in his top 3 goals of all time.
No, yeah, I completely agree. If you, I've said this before, if you watch Matt Letizier's 10 best Premier League goals, they're better than the best Premier League goals that other players of his era have ever scored.
I think
him and best one.
Him and Dennis Bergkamp could make up the top 10 best goals of the Premier League ever, and you might be like, "Oh, what about Tony Yeboah? What about David Beckham?" And that's about it. Yeah.
No, it's incredible how talented he was. Another player from the Channel Islands as well, like Graham was saying. He was from Guernsey.
Give him their own team.
Yeah. I think there's a fixture every year, Guernsey versus Jersey. It's like massive rivalry.
Oh, nice. What leagues do they play in?
I don't know. I don't know really. I don't know if it counts as an international game or whether it's,
because surely, like at some point, I would have thought maybe Jersey or Guernsey could apply to the Football League. But then I guess if you start at the bottom, I mean, Jersey and Guernsey might be able to afford to go to league games, as in travel. But someone in the 6th tier of football might not be able to afford to travel to Jersey. Not the fans, I mean the team might not be able to afford to get to Jersey twice a year.
Yeah, no, that's a tough away trip, especially if you're in like National League South or something like that.
Yeah. That's maybe logistics stopped it.
Yeah. Well, that was a nice little detour to talk about Matt Letitia. Thank you for granting me that. Although he has kind of into his reputation in the last couple of years. It's absolutely heartbreaking, honestly.
I know, it's mad.
He is mad. Okay, so we got 2-guy as your more defensive of your central midfielders.
Yeah.
And so then are you playing like a flat 3 in front of him, or
probably
like wingers? Okay.
We'll go for your wingers and then another midfielder, I think. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll go for your right winger then.
He had a bit of umming and ahhing because Stuart Ripley, who I love to bits, I wanted to put him in, Premier League winning legend, but I think maybe only because I watched him a bit more in the flesh, and so I appreciated him a bit more because I was a bit young when Ripley was in his prime. I've gone with David Bentley, who had 3-4 very good years for Blackburn.
Yeah.
I remember he scored a memorable hat-trick against Man United.
Yeah.
Our nemesis from when I was a kid. And yeah, I just think he was really good for us. And he didn't set the world on fire for Arsenal or Spurs or anyone else or England when he had the 1 or 2 opportunities. But for us, he was great.
Yeah.
And I met him once in a restaurant in Liverpool and he was very nice. Got a picture with him.
He sort of had a bit of a reputation as a bit of a bad boy at that time.
Yeah,
But then
I think it was a bit unfair.
Yeah, I think it was just that he had probably quite an expensive haircut and that was it. And maybe possibly because he didn't quite live up to the potential, because there was all that hype about him, being the next Beckham and all that kind of stuff. So maybe he sort of got tarred with that brush of being, talented but not committed, and so built that reputation around him. But yeah, he was definitely one of the most kind of mercurial midfielders of that era.
Yeah,
some of the goals he scored as well, like, I mean, not for Blackburn, but when that volley he scored for Spurs against Arsenal, or was it? Yeah,
he scored some pretty good goals for us as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I feel like he was quite good at set pieces.
Yeah, he was good delivery. I mean, some of the players that I've got in this team that will come in very handy, I think.
Okay, no spoilers, although I can guess one of them.
Yeah.
All right then. So we'll move to the other central midfielder who's playing sort of in front of Tugay.
Here again, a lot of different options. Could have gone with Tim Sherwood.
Yeah.
Title-winning captain. Lars Bohinen.
Wow. Really?
No. No.
I was going to say, in the same breath as Tim Sherwood.
No, not quite. But I don't know, it was like Lars Bohinen. I always had a soft spot for him. You know those players that you're like, I just wish he was slightly better than he is. You kind of fell into that category. I always liked Lars. But no, I've gone with David Dunn.
Okay.
Local legend. Boyhood, childhood. Sort of loved Rovers since he was a kid. Managed to play for us. Had a couple of good years, couple of bad years, mixed time at Birmingham, but he scored some very, very memorable goals for us. Not without skill. He was very good on the ball, decent little dribble on him. Now I was a big fan of David Dunn.
Yeah, I sort of forgotten that he'd had 2 stints at Blackburn.
Yeah, and the second stint, he's got a very memorable goal against Burnley. I think we were 1-0 down at Ewood Park and we were in danger of losing to Burnley for the first time in years and years and years and years. And he scored like a 92nd minute equaliser from outside the box. And you're like, that alone is worth entry to this team. So, local legend David Dunn.
Yeah. Again, a bit like Colin Hendry, despite a very extensive and, pretty successful, consistent career, he will just always be remembered for trying to do that Rabona, the
Rabona against for Birmingham. Yeah. Oh, David Dunn.
Yeah,
but I love him.
He's probably. I mean, I see that a lot now, but he's probably thankful that happened in whatever it was, the early 2000s when.
Before viral. Viral was viral.
Yeah. I suppose he can make that claim to fame. He was probably the most viral football video before there was such a thing as viral football videos.
Yeah.
Incredible. Okay. And then your final midfielder, left winger. Again, I think another area where, as I was thinking before recording this, I was thinking of a couple of names that were floating around.
Yeah, I think there's 3 main options here.
Yeah.
Number 1 is, not in any order, but option 1, Morten Gams Pedersen.
Yeah.
Absolute wand of a left foot on his day. Brilliant. Although pretty inconsistent over the 3-4 years that we had him.
Yeah.
I think football fans in general remember him more fond. Not that Roll fans, we do remember him fondly. He was great for us. But sort of the slightly rose-tinted spectacles with general football fans because of his highlights reel. Whereas Rovers fans, we loved him, real cult hero. But on a game-to-game basis, he was a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
Although, I love Pedersen. But he's the sort of player that you think probably should have cashed in on him at some point, and we just never. And then your new sporting director, Jason Wilcox. legend. I don't know how many Wilcox to Shearer assists there would have been back in the day. I'm sure plenty. So yeah, it was one of those players that you forget about for a long time, and then he pops up on your timeline on Twitter, and you're like, oh my God, Jason Wilcox was Man City sporting director this whole time. Wow. Or I think not quite sporting director, but he's a sporting director for Southampton, but he had like a nice job at Man City for ages. And I was like, didn't know that happened. So I remember I was being so happy. I was so happy when I read that. I was like, oh my God, that's so nice that Jason Wilcox is doing well in life. I really, because you don't see him as a pundit, or, he's never been, or, he's never tried his, or not any extensive managerial stint either. So it was nice to see him doing well. Very happy about that. But I've gone with Damien Duff.
Okay, yeah.
Another academy graduate, Rovers legend, brilliant player, scored brilliant goals. Add somebody to this team that there isn't the ability to just very easily beat a man. Scored goals from outside the box, a lot of assists, had a brilliant career at Chelsea after leaving Rovers, got his Premier League title, which I was very happy about for him. And just not a lot else to say really. Just brilliant player.
Yeah. Do you think Blackburn had the best Damien Duff, or do you think when he was in that Chelsea team? Because when he was in that Chelsea team, he was one of the first Abramovich signings, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
They splashed the cash, but then they also had like Arjen Robben and So he didn't really feature that much.
I think we probably had the best version of Duff because he was a bit more free flowing when he played for us.
Yeah.
Whereas I think when he went to Chelsea, there was a bit more sort of managing him and him playing within a system.
Yeah.
Whereas with Rovers, it was like, you're clearly our best player. Go and do your stuff, innit? Go be Damien Duff.
Just run.
Yeah. So I think, but equally, I think he went sort of mid-peak to Chelsea. So I think we both got like the best out of him, I think.
Yeah. I seem to remember there was a Football Manager or Championship Manager game around that time. I think it was when he just moved to Chelsea. And it was like, he just became the best player in the world in the game every year. Every time you started it, you'd be like, well, I think you couldn't sign him because he just moved to Chelsea. And then he'd be top goal scorer, top assists. Like he'd moved to Real Madrid. He became
Messi. He basically became Messi before Messi.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. He became the blueprint for Messi. There we go. That's the tagline for this episode. Damien Duff was the blueprint for Lionel Messi.
Yeah. Just diminutive left-footed genius.
Yeah. All right, then finishing off with your strike partnership. Again, obviously one name kind of is automatically on the team sheet, I assume.
Yeah, so I'll do that second.
But I feel like, again, couple of interesting.
We've had some very good strikers over the years. You've got Mike Newell, fastest hat-trick in the Champions League until for a long time. It was the fastest hat-trick in the Champions League. I think less than 10 minutes until Lewandowski scored like 5 in 10 minutes. Then you've got Kevin Gallagher, a brilliant foil for a number 9. You've got Chris Sutton, whose partnership with Shearer was legendary in those Premiership years. Then moving on, we got like Andy Cole, who had a couple of very, very good years for us.
Yeah.
Then you got like Rocky Santa Cruz. Yeah. You got Benny McCarthy. You've got Yakubu, Jordan Rhodes.
Yeah.
And it kind of ends there, I guess.
Ben
Brereton Diaz.
Yeah. Bradley Dack as well.
Bradley Dack, if you want to appoint him as a number 10. Yeah. So we've had a lot of choice. Craig Bellamy.
Of course,
he was with us for one season and he was brilliant. And he was the name I put down first, actually, before I changed it to this name. So I've named a lot of players already, but the person I'm going for to partner, the more obvious choice, slightly ahead of him, is one Matt Jansen.
Oh, yes. Big fan of that. Love Matt Jansen.
I loved Matt Jansen.
Yeah.
He was the reason we got promoted. Well, not the only reason, but he was a big reason why we got promoted back into Premiership in 2001. He was great in the Championship, was great that following season in the Premiership. We went on to win the League Cup, the Worthington Cup at the time, at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, and I was there, and Matt Jansen scored in the final, and he was brilliant for us. Should have gone to the World Cup 2002, didn't.
Yeah.
Ended up having a very, very unfortunate motorbike accident in Rome because he was on holiday instead of being in Japan/Korea, and kind of never recovered after it. Apparently physically he was fine.
Yeah.
But mentally just couldn't get his head right. I think a lot of anxiety and stuff crept into his game and just couldn't get his game back, which was a shame because physically, apparently, he had a clean bill of health. But he was brilliant, and I think would be a brilliant foil for a more classic number 9.
Yeah, I didn't really know that about his motorbike accident. I was just reading it there. It says he spent 6 days in a coma. That's incredible that he even made it, as played professional football after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very sad. The accident's obviously horrible, but also like his career he didn't quite kick off his career and didn't quite fulfill then his potential. Because I think he was headed to like a Champions League level club, I think, at some point, definitely.
Wasn't prolific, was he? He wasn't like
sort of striker that sort of like a Sheringham type, but not as good as Sheringham, but like a Sheringham type where there's more to him than just goals.
Yeah.
He wasn't like your leading attacker, but he'd have probably if he was playing in today's day and age and being coached by someone like Pep or Klopp or something, he'd be like an inverted winger for sure.
Yeah. Did he have much pace? I can't really remember him.
Not like bags of it, but he could beat a man with skill. More of a Jack Grealish type, but not without the bag of tricks. But sort of Jack Grealish doesn't really rely on pace to beat a man. It's more in that kind of mold, I guess.
Okay.
And probably equally as handsome, I'd say.
That was the other thing I remember about Matt Jansen was, he was particularly good looking. Is he probably Blackburn's sort of favourite? He's kind of, I don't know, because he didn't really sort of taint his career, but he didn't. A lot of Blackburn players were good at Blackburn and then were better elsewhere, or they were better elsewhere and then good at Blackburn. But him, apart from possibly two guy, he's probably he's like, I would call him like a flagship Blackburn player. Like
He didn't
100% Blackburn.
I mean, he eventually left us to try and kick off his career again, and he went to like Bolton and stuff. But it wasn't like everyone was like, God, I hope you get back what you lost.
Yeah,
we always wished him well. But we had his best years. And it is a shame that he didn't go on to like have a proper England career and a career that he deserved in a Champions League team. But I think for those 2-3 years that we had him and what I saw, he's brilliant, and he's definitely a fan favorite and a favorite of mine. Yeah,
good name to have on the team sheet. Love Matt Jansen. Okay, well, I think your final player is pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious. I've gone for Rovers legend, all-time great Dwight York, obviously, to partner Matt Jansen. No, obviously it's Alan Shearer. We're going for Big Al, Alan Shearer, Premiership's greatest striker. Definitely still the all-time leading goal scorer in the Premier League. We'll see what Harry Kane does or what Haaland does by the middle of next year. But Alan Shearer, brilliant. And if it wasn't for his 2 debilitating knee injuries, God knows what those numbers would have been. And God knows what he could have achieved in his career more than he already did. And respect to the fact that he went to his boyhood club and gave up winning trophies. That was a deliberate decision, obviously, but he could have. He had that offer for Man United was there, and he turned it down. I
think, like I said, if you speak to any Blackburn fan, Alan Shearer is going to be in their team, and so rather than try and do what many people have done before and talk about the brilliance of Alan Shearer, I'm going to fire some quick fire Alan Shearer based questions at you.
Oh man, okay.
And you've got to make some quick decisions.
Okay, let's do it.
So
I'm nervous.
Would you rather have had the Newcastle Alan Shearer, like incredible goal scorer, talisman, club hero, absolute legend, without the trophies, or the Premier League winning Alan Shearer that you had?
Oh, Premier League winning Alan Shearer. I think people also forget that Alan Shearer was a brilliant footballer.
Yeah.
pre-injury, Alan Shearer used to run the wings. He was the best crosser of the ball we had, which is no mean feat given that we played with Jason Wilcox and Stuart Ripley on the wings. And there was often there's a joke if Alan Shearer could assist himself, he'd have scored even more goals. He was brilliant. He was strong, difficult to get off the ball. He could, beat a man, not go on a mazy dribble, but he could beat a man. And he was just a brilliant footballer. And his decision-making was generally very, very, very good. And yeah, he was brilliant. And I think those knee injuries really impacted and yet to adapt the way he plays. And yes, he wasn't quite the same player for Newcastle, although still prolific, but not quite the same footballer for Newcastle that he was for Blackburn.
Yeah. Okay.
He was a demon for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, he was at Southampton before that, and obviously it was before my time, but kind of knowing the history of it, he was just, absolutely lightning. Scored incredible goals, all kinds of goals, tons of goals. Yeah, he was just the definition of goal scorer. Favorite Alan Shearer goal? Tough one.
It is a tough
probably
one.
His best goals, or his best goal, probably didn't come for Blackburn.
Yeah, that volley for Newcastle.
Favorite Blackburn Alan Shearer goal?
Yeah, there's a really gorgeous goal he scored against QPR, where he went off the underside of the bar.
Yeah.
And when you're a teenager, that's the best goal you can possibly score. Is when he goes off the underside of the bar. That is, that's the ultimate goal you can score or see when you're a kid. But I think my favorite goal is against Man United in the 93-94 season when we just pipped to the Premier League title, and we won the game at Ewood Park 2-0, and there was a very nice goal that he scored with the ball was played over the top. Yeah. He beat them. He sort of shrugged off the last defender, and then just beat Peter Schmeichel 1-on-1. And I think that was because it wasn't it was typical Alan Shearer, not a deft finish, just smashed it through the keeper. And the thing is, he was capable of a deft finish, Alan Shearer, because it was a brilliant finish of the ball. But I think it was almost just anger, just lashing it through Peter Schmeichel, and it was just a brilliant goal.
Okay.
He's got some class. If you go look at his highlight reel, there's some brilliant goals that he scored, just turning and slotting into the top corner from the edge of the box and the odd volley and all sorts. He was brilliant and great, and also great in the air.
Okay, final quick fire Alan Shearer question: who would you rather have as your best man organising your stag do, Alan Shearer or Two-Guy?
Oh, Two-Guy without a shadow of a doubt. 100% Two-Guy. I mean, we'd probably be in the Mediterranean.
Oh yeah.
There'd probably be Salt Bay would probably be there, giving us some steaks and that. 100% Two-Guy.
It would be badly organised, but it would be memorable.
it'd be fun. It'd be too rigid.
It would be
paintballing at 5 a.m. Followed by breakfast at 6:30. There's a taxi at 7. If you're not in it, you're not in it. It's too much.
No strip clubs.
Too much. Yeah, it's too much. No, definitely give me Two-Guy. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. All right. Well, we've done your team. A few little choices you still need to make. So who's going to be the captain of your Blackburn Ultimate 11?
Colin Hendry.
Okay. Yeah.
I sometimes forget that Colin Hendry wasn't our captain when we won the Premiership. It was Tim Sherwood. But I think he's a natural leader of a side. Sort of brave heart. I think it was Scotland. I don't even know if he was Scotland captain at the time. But it definitely lends himself as, he had a big heart, big mouth.
Yeah.
Sort of big hair as well. Big hair as well. Those centre backs that just gave the whole team grief all game. I think he's a natural selection for skipper.
Okay, Colin Hendry gets the armband. A bit of an obvious one. Penalties.
Yeah, Alan Shearer.
Alan Shearer's on pens. We talked a little bit about set piece specialists, but who's going to take free kicks?
Yeah, I've gone David Bentley.
Yeah.
I think if we're taking indirect free kicks, then the recipient of that would be Alan Shearer.
Yes.
If it's a pass and smash, then it's gonna be Alan Shearer, I think, on doing the smashing. But if it's just a direct free kick, I think we've got to put David Bentley on those. I think definitely.
Yeah. Good choice. assistant manager. So any current or past Blackburn Rovers manager can be alongside you in the dugout.
Yeah, I've gone with the greatest assistant manager Blackburn ever had. Went through many eras, and was there up to the mid 2000s, I think. Tony Parks.
Okay.
Blackburn legend, had the caretaker job at various points over the years when managers were dismissed. Always did a solid job before the next person came along, and was always kept in the dugout for a long time until the game got, I think, a bit too modernized for him, and he came at a time where he maybe became a bit surplus, but he was brilliant for us, a real sort of Rovers servant and stalwart. Yeah. So yeah, I'll go with Tony Parks.
I love that you've chosen an actual assistant manager as well. You could have chosen any of the managers. You could have chosen any of the
too much ego. Can't be having Kenny Dalglish in the dugout. Like I'd be second guessing myself all the time. I'm like, Kenny, is that all right? And he's like, you're the manager. Like, oh yeah, that's true. I am.
Yeah,
can't have Graham Souness or Mark Hughes. That's not going to work.
No. Okay, fair enough. That's good. You've got exactly the right man for the job. And final thing to choose is the kit that you are going to be wearing, or your Ultimate 11 team are going to be wearing, I should say.
Yeah, it's my favorite Rovers kit. A very snug Kappa kit. Those gorgeous figure-hugging Kappa shirts. Not made for every man or woman, I must say. But, the athletes look gorgeous in it. It is the 2000 to 2002 Kappa shirts, home and away, because we did a gorgeous red and black striped away shirt that came at the time with the home shirt.
Yes, I remember that.
Sponsored by Time Computers, who were a local firm. So yeah, that's who I've gone with for the kit that we're wearing. I think Matt Jansen knows look gorgeous in it anyway.
Yeah, I feel like that. If I think about Blackburn, that's the kit that I think of. That was sort of peak. One of my oldest friends is a big Blackburn fan. I'm pretty sure I remember him having that kit and wearing it playing football. He used to play five side, and I think who did he? I think he wanted to be possibly David Dunn. He was that kind of player.
Yeah, nice.
Cool. All right, then I'm going to read your team back to you, and you can decide whether or not you're still happy with it or any changes last minute. So in goal, we've got the legends, America's greatest bald export, Brad Friedel.
Solid. Right
back, Lucas Neal. You've got Christopher Samba and Colin Hendry in centre backs. Colin Hendry is your captain. Left back, Graham Lasso. You've got the myth, the legend, two guy as your defensive central midfielder. And then you've got David Bentley on right wing, and he's also your free kick taker. David Dunn in the middle, and Damien Duff on the left wing. And then a strike partnership of Alan Shearer, your penalty kick taker, and Matty Jansen, with Tony Parks alongside you as assistant manager, and your team wearing the 2000-2002 Time Computers classic blue and white half shirt home kit. Are you happy with that?
Very, very happy with that. I think, as a Rovers fan, that team is mouth-wateringly good. Very good.
Yeah. I think, and as you said at the start, I think that could compete at all of those players at their peak could compete with, the best players that they would have played against, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think the midfield, maybe, Duff Dunn midfield might be a little bit. I wouldn't like to see them play against Man City at their peak over the last couple of years, or that Liverpool team of 2019 or whatever. But that team competed with those guys competed with the Invincibles and Man United's brilliant team of the mid 2000s and stuff. And that was a time when we were finishing like 5th, 6th, and Chelsea had a great team and Man United had a great team at the time. So I think actually the team would be fine.
Yeah, and they definitely hold their own.
Maybe bring Robbie Savage in off the bench if we need a runner. If you need someone with legs.
Yeah. Or if you just need someone else for Graham Lasso to punch.
Yeah.
Bring Robbie Savage on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tez, thank you very much for taking us through your Blackburn Rovers Ultimate 11. It's been
thank you for having me, Ben. A lot of fun.